So you want luxury, you know you need 3 rows, but you want to avoid the headache and the price of the Germans. So which one of these are you gonna choose? So we've got the Acura MDX, that is the comfy, techie one from the good folks at Honda. The Lexus TX, the spacious newcomer from Toyota's luxury arm. And we got the Infiniti QX60, that's the stylish, feature-rich alternative from Nissan's luxury brand. We're gonna go through all the details: interior, tech, cargo, comfort. How easy is it to actually use that 3rd row anyway? And of course, we're gonna let you know how it drives and tell you if it's worth the cash.
We're Edmunds, and we test hundreds of cars each year on the road and at our private track, so you get the most trusted reviews. If you want to know which car, truck, or SUV is the best, then stick with us.
Oh my gosh, look at how cool that is. I love those little pop-up USB ports. I've also got in here more USB ports, and then there's a little channel so the cord doesn't get pinched. And I've got wireless charging right here, front and center. Now, in terms of infotainment, this is a much easier system to use. It's actually a touchscreen. I've got Google integrated, so I got Google Maps, I got Google Assistant, I got the Google Play Store, and everything on this screen is like, it's really snappy, you know what I mean? And if you don't like it, you've got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as well. And for you guys who like music, listen, there is a Bang & Olufsen system that is standard on everything except for the base model, and it sounds really good. Now, these controls here in the center, I mean, yeah, it's a little weird how they slope away from the driver, but in general, we really like it when we have physical buttons for things that we use the most instead of dealing with it on the touchscreen. So we're super glad to see these HVAC buttons here. But why is this drive mode selector taking up all of this real estate? I mean, come on. How often are you actually putting your 3-row SUV into sport mode? Be honest with yourself. Oh, and this gear selector, you guys, this is straight out of my mom's CRV. Acura can do better. But on a more positive note, y'all, these seats are so comfortable. I mean, we have driven every 3-row SUV on the market, and in terms of adjustability and comfort and just all around, yeah, these are great. Plus, on the top models, you can even get a massage feature. Now, the ventilation, it's more like a gentle sigh than it is a cooling breeze, but all in all, not bad. Now, I've got some pretty big door pockets here for storage. I like that I've got this little guy right here for like pens and pencils and little small things, and it'll fit a big dumb cup and it won't tip over. So overall impressions up front, I mean, yeah, we really like it. The interior looks great, everything works well, and the materials are appropriately luxurious for a vehicle at this price point. In fact, we think the MDX is a good vehicle for a lot of people, but just don't expect it to check all of your boxes. And remember, if you're shopping for a car that checks all of your boxes, we have got a bunch of tools over on Edmunds.com to help you find it, so check it out. Now, listen, the MDX is the only one that has a 2nd row bench seat, but this middle section comes out, so really you can also have 2 captain's chairs, and that is great for versatility. Sometimes you want to carry 7 passengers, other times you want to have easy access to that 3rd row, or maybe separate these siblings that have been arguing for the past week and a half. Now, across this 2nd row, all 3 seats have got latch anchors. That's really cool, and if your car seats are narrow enough, you can fit 3 of them across. That's really cool too. And these seats in the back, look at what? I can lean back. Oh, so nice. And back here, I've got some USB ports. I've got a 12 volt and I've got my own HVAC controls plus heated seats. Now, as for cup holders, don't worry about it. This center section folds down, but you've also got some in the door pockets. Now, flipping this seat up for access to the 3rd row is pretty easy. There isn't any kind of like heavy lever. There's just this really simple button, but then it can be a little, I mean, it's all right, but definitely not a lot of room back here for a full-size adult. The good news is you got a USB port. Now, when we pop up this tailgate, which is hands-free for all but the base model, you can see with that 3rd row keeping up, yeah, there is not a lot of room back here. So sure, you can haul 7 passengers, but do you have room for 7 passengers worth of stuff? Maybe not so much. The good news is that you can fold this 3rd row seat down from back here. It's really easy, and it folds down flat. And once you've got those down, it's got about the same amount of space overall as what you'd find in a Honda CR-V or a Toyota RAV4. So from behind the wheel here, I'm in drives okay. There's no real big deal breakers. We have, however, noticed two things. First of all, it's pretty loud. I mean, we test all of our cars at 70 miles an hour in terms of noise, and when you put your foot into this, it is definitely the loudest of the three. And a lot of that is related to the engine. So this is the same V6 that we've got in the Honda Pilot, and it's kind of underpowered. So when you put your foot in it because you've got to merge or pass or go up a hill or whatever it is, you've really got to get into that power band, which means you're up in the high revs, which means that your engine is really loud. So yeah, oftentimes for a performance vehicle, you expect to have a little bit more performance or a lot of bit more performance, and that's just not the case here. But thankfully, the rest is pretty good. I mean, the brakes are a little soft. It makes it really easy to come to a stop smoothly, and the suspension is nice and soft. It just soaks up all of the bumps that you get out here on broken pavement. Now, in terms of driver's aids, things like adaptive cruise control and lane centering, those are standard, and you can't really say that about the Germans. And here they all work as advertised. I mean, nothing really stands out. Now, one thing we've noticed is the all-wheel drive system in this vehicle. When you put your foot down coming out of a turn, it's really good at keeping that power going to the pavement. So you shouldn't have that much of a problem if you're driving in a slippery situation like ice or snow. This thing is gonna keep you planted when you're coming out of a tight turn. Plus, like, it's kind of fun. So kind of a mixed bag here, right? I mean, I've got good tech, easy access to the third row, comfortable seats, but it's kind of noisy and the powertrain's a little underwhelming, and those things don't really sell the whole luxury experience. Plus, not a lot of room for people or cargo, so let's see if something else does better. Ooh, quilted dash. The Infiniti QX60 is like a winter coat that you've bought at H&M. I mean, yeah, it looks great. It's just not very warm. I mean, there are a lot of great features in here, but when it comes to the car's main task, which is getting you around to places in comfortable, quiet elegance, it just doesn't cut it. You guys, the interior is not the problem. I mean, come on, I've got a quilted dash. It is awesome. And even in the trim that's below this, that one gets this awesome like blue leather trim. It's so good. All of the materials here are great. The seats are pretty good. I mean, they're not quite as comfortable as what we have in the MDX, but there is a massage function, and I dig that I've got these speakers here in my headrest. So the QX60 has got the same Google built in to the infotainment system as we've seen in the Acura, and that's a good thing, right? Because everybody loves Google Maps, everybody loves Google Assistant, and you've got access to Waze and Spotify, so I am super happy there. The problem is that the whole interface itself, just the way it looks, it's pretty dated when you look at the other two. And if you're comparing it to the Germans, I mean, forget it. This thing is absolutely ancient. It sat behind Jesus in 3rd grade. But the good news is that you've got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and it's wireless, and it was super easy to connect my phone. Now, these controls here are all pretty straightforward, but there's just a lot of those like touch buttons as opposed to physical buttons. I mean, yes, I've got a dial here for my temperature and one for my volume. That's really cool. But the rest are just like these flush buttons where every time I press it, I leave a fingerprint, which means this is going to get all fingerprinty and messy really, really quickly. Charging here is pretty standard. I've got 2 USB ports right down here in the little cave of charging, including a wireless charger. The problem is that there isn't a lot of small storage. I mean, like, I got cup holders and a wireless charging bin. So you tell me where I'm supposed to put my keys. Now, in the second row here, this tester has got captain's chairs. If you want to have a bench seat, you have to go to one of the lower trims. And to be honest, you guys, these seats are kind of flat. They're not really the most comfortable things that I've sat in today. But I've got a couple of USB ports down here. I also have a standard household outlet. I've got my own HVAC controls, heated seats, 2 really big cup holders, and an actual little bit of small storage. Thank you. Why can't we have that in the front? Car seats in the second row of the QX60 are no problem at all. You've got easy access to the latch anchors and the tethers. In fact, you can even get a car seat in the 3rd row, but getting into that 3rd row is pretty easy. I mean, yes, there is a button down here like on the MDX, but when you press it, you notice that the way this actually tilts means that you can still have a car seat here and still get into the back. That's pretty cool. Now look, for those of you who want to clamber back here, I mean, there's not really a lot of room, but look, how many third rows do you actually want to sit in? I mean, there's not many, so I'm not surprised at the amount of space that's back here for adults. But here is the problem, you guys. There's only one USB port, one, and you have 2 seats, which means 2 kids, which means one giant argument over who's charging their phone. But here's something that's really cool. There's 2 ways of getting this seat up. I can either use this little guy and pull it up manually, or I've got a button. What? Look at that, it comes up automatically. And here's another cool thing back here. I've got this little cubby down here, and I've got a 12-volt right here. Okay, real quick. There are a bunch of little tiny details that we just can't get to in a video. So if you want to see how your favorite car ranks against others in its class, just go to Edmunds.com. We've got all these great tools just for you. Okay, so you go into the Infiniti dealership, you look at the QX60 and you're like, hey man, that looks like a really nice car. And you know what? The luxury impression, it does not actually fall apart until you drive the thing. Okay, look, I want a luxury vehicle that's gonna ride like a magic carpet. I'm sure that's what you expect too, okay? The suspension is so stiff that even a smooth road feels bumpy. You just never get that supple, easy, comfortable ride quality that you expect with something that is luxury. And y'all, this engine is actually really slow to respond. And then when it does, the power delivery isn't linear at all. And sometimes you just feel like you're doing this even though your foot is steady on the throttle. It's also slower than the Acura. And listen, I know that you're not gonna go out and like drag race this thing, but you do want power. You need it when you're going up hills or when you're merging into traffic and you've got a whole load of people and things. Not having enough is the opposite of luxury. But it is really easy to brake smoothly, and it's super quiet in here. You hardly ever hear the engine. Now, although the base model does not offer adaptive cruise control, you can get a hands-free eyes-up system as an option on the tippy top model. And as long as you're on a compatible road, that's a lot better than what's offered on the other 2. But still, the QX60 just doesn't drive the way a luxury car should. And that, combined with some of the older interface that you've got going on in the infotainment system, that should make you think twice before you buy one. This almost as cool as a cowbell. All right, I would tell you straight up, the Lexus is the vehicle you want if you value space and a roomy third row. But what about the rest of it? Now, of all our vehicles that we've seen today, really the Lexus has got the least luxurious interior. I mean, this is trying to pass for suede and it's not doing a very good job. There's a lot of really hard touch plastic surfaces where all I want is a nice, soft, pillowy touch like I've got in the Infiniti. And like, did we need to reinvent the door handle? But there's some really cool storage hacks in here. Like, yeah, okay, these cup holders come out and then that gives you more space in here. And the wireless charging pad, you can push it back so you've got extra storage underneath there. I also have 3 USB charging ports here. I've got a little 12-volt guy down here, and of course, this wireless charging pad. So Toyota's doing a little bit right here, just not with the materials. Now I've got a pretty impressive looking screen. However, it doesn't run Google built-in like the other 2. So if you're used to having Google Maps, sorry, you're gonna have to use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Also, my climate controls, y'all, I've got some dials here, but those are the only hard controls I've got. Everything else is on this button screen, and I leave fingerprints, and there's no feedback to let me know that I've actually touched the right button, and I hate it, and I want physical controls. I mean, I will say these seats are really comfortable. It's the first thing I noticed when I sat down in this vehicle, but on the whole, the quality just isn't here. I mean, this is a Lexus, and it feels a lot like a Toyota Grand Highlander. Here in the second row of the TX, I've got the most room out of all 3 vehicles. I've also got my own HVAC controls, including heated and cooled seats. I know, I love a good cooled, but got my own USB ports. These seats are not the most comfortable, but what I do love is that I've got those same cup holders that you can remove, and the whole center console removes so that it's really easy to get into that third row from the center. But of course, you can also get in through the side. It just might be a little bit more difficult for little kids. Now, if you've got little ones, they might need a little bit of help getting into that third row because the button is pretty high on the seat. But once you've got this seat flipped up, you've got a lot of room back here. I mean, plenty of headspace, plenty of leg room. This is the only vehicle with 7 USB ports, so I've got 2 back here as well. I've got a place for my iPad, and then check this out. What? Look at all that lean back luxury. Oh yeah, I love it. Now, moving on with our space theme here. Behind the third row, I've got enough space to actually put these suitcases standing up, and I could not do that in the other 2 vehicles. Plus, Even when I fold down the seats, I've got way more room and I can do it from this rear seat. It's just that, well, it takes a really long time. It'll get there. Go on. All right, well, while we're doing that, look, got a little 12-volt outlet. Pretty cool. Now, the driving experience in the Lexus TX, it sits squarely in the middle of our 3-car lineup. I mean, the ride quality is much better than what you find in the Infiniti, but it's not quite as powerful as what's happening in the Acura. The engine here is a little bit slow to respond when I put my foot into it, and it really kind of struggles to get up to speed. Once you're there, it feels great. Just expect to wait a little bit. The suspension here is pretty soft, and I'm loving how I'm just rolling over this broken pavement. It feels really good, but the trade-off there is that sometimes you can get a lot of body roll. So you're taking a turn kind of fast, maybe you're braking pretty hard. Expect to be moving around a little bit more in this vehicle than in the other ones. But speaking of the brakes, although the bite is a little bit firmer, they're still really easy to control, and it's easy to bring this vehicle to a smooth and controlled stop. Lexus does a really good job of offering all of your driver's aids standard across the board, and during my time in this vehicle, they've all worked great. But the Lexus is the only one of the 3 that offers a modicum of off-road capability. So first of all, I've got a trail mode here, and that's gonna help control that all-wheel drive system when you're on loose, gravelly surfaces. I also have a hill descent control that will automatically apply the brakes and keep the vehicle going downhill in a very controlled manner with no input from you. Now, this is wearing an F-Sport badge, but you guys don't expect this thing to be super fun on the pavement. That is for the Acura. Instead, what you get is a competent drive with a lot of room for people and things. I mean, yeah, the interior can be a little cheap, but we're not super disappointed. So we've got this Acura MDX. Now, our version here, as tested, it's about $67,000, $68,000, but it starts in the low 50s, and all-wheel drive is gonna add about $2,200 to that bottom line. But the thing is, it really seems like it's worth the money. I mean, the materials are good, the quality inside is great, and it drives really well. If you're looking for a jack of all trades, master of none, the Acura is probably your jam. But remember, the MDX got the lowest fuel economy, so if you've got your average commute, be prepared to spend about an extra $1,500 a year on gas. Now, the Infiniti QX60, y'all, as tested, $72,000. I know. Now, it starts much cheaper than that, and all-wheel drive is an extra $2,000, but that price just seems outrageous. I mean, yes, the interior is nice, but the driving experience, not quite so much. However, if you're really into a quiet, comfortable ride, I don't know, maybe that QX60 is the car for you. Now, this Lexus TX, you guys, it's got the highest price floor. It starts at around $56,000. The good news is that all-wheel drive here is the cheapest. You're gonna add about $1,600 to the bottom line. Well, there's a lot to like about the TX. Y'all, that interior, it hardly seems any better than that Grand Highlander, and that's just your basic Toyota. However, if you've got space and kids and people and cargo and you need to haul a bunch of stuff, TX is gonna be your jam. All right, really quick, before we tell you what we picked, you guys, if you found value in this video, give us a good old like and subscribe. And if you wanna go crazy, hit that notification button. Ding, 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 ding. I don't know, YouTube really likes that stuff. And what's our take on these 3? Now, if you've watched all our videos in the past, you might think that these scores look a little bit different, and you're right. We've been adjusting things so that we can give you the absolute best reviews. And so, the winner of our luxury 3-row SUV competition is... That's right, it's the Acura MDX. So our MDX here is definitely the best all around, even if that 3rd row kind of suffers in comparison to the other 2. The Lexus TX, y'all, that is the people mover, but it's kind of dull and it's also a little expensive. When it comes to the Infiniti QX60, okay, we love the way it looks. We love the interior. The 3rd row is better than that MDX, but man, the overall driving experience, ride quality, engine, transmission, everything, not good. Cannot compare it to the other 2. If you'd like more information on any of these cars, or any 3-row SUV for that matter, head on over to Edmunds.com. We'll see you in the next time.